I don't know what it is, but every time I press record on the camera I get so nervous. I really want to share so much and tell so much, but it's just a flat line the moment I press record. But we have been working so hard the last couple of months. We are preparing the cabin and it's actually almost done. We only need a dining room table and some chairs, and I actually think I'm going to move the dining room table we have here, and then I'm going to make a new dining room table in this house, because we are taking down the old shed. We have tried many times to save it, but it's just in such a bad shape that we really have to take it down now. And there are some woods that are really good still, and I'm going to try to reuse that wood to make a dining room table. I really love making things, especially making things from natural material, from material we already have. And I feel that using the wood that they built the old shed with 100 years ago gives a sort of nostalgia to the table or to the things that you built. Because this year in 2020, this house is actually 100 years old. I actually was a little bit nervous last week. We moved our bedroom that was on the south side to the north side, because I really thought that the south side would be a lot warmer. But weirdly enough, the room on the north side is so much warmer. And I noticed that where the floor goes down, because we already noticed that the floor goes down there a little bit, that also the wall is bending because of the pressure. And I went down and I saw the crack in the beam. The beam that's actually holding up the floor is getting way bigger than it's supposed to be. So this actually means that the floor is coming down, and this makes me so nervous. So after thinking rationally, I thought, what if we put some support underneath it and then slowly forcing the floor back up, and then we put in a new beam, or actually a beam underneath, so we don't have to take the whole beam out, but we just put in another beam underneath there to support. But that, you know, when you buy a house, and especially as I said in previous video, a little bit cheaper house, there's mostly a little bit renovation to be done. And also work has been really stressful and hard the last couple of weeks, actually over the whole summer. A lot of you have asked, how did you find a job up here? Well, we actually booked a vacation here, the first ever to Sweden. And we started asking around in towns if there was need for us to work there, if they needed people. And we found 2 jobs, but we didn't write any contract because we couldn't at that moment. So we moved here on good faith that the jobs would still be there, and they actually were. When I started to study as a herbalist, I also took on the basic medical knowledge, so I know how the body works, how the organ works, how we get sick, and what type of regular medication they actually use. I have forgotten most of it because, weirdly enough, I don't find regular medicine so interesting. I know what most of them do, but it's not really my interest. And when I told that to the commune here, they said, well, we really hope you want to work in elderly care. And because in the Netherlands you actually need a degree to work with elderly, I thought that the work that I was going to do was actually helping them clean, maybe helping them putting their clothes on, just basic support. So the first day at work I was so shocked. Yeah, it's just not what I imagined at all, because I thought I would be working with elderly people just to support them, but actually what I started doing was taking on full medical care, and I took a course, and I can actually now also give them medicine, or I'm allowed to give them medicine. I help them with everything they need, from changing diapers to helping them get less confused, calming them down, helping them eat. It's such a variety in my job, and I thought I would hate it, but I actually kind of love my work. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with my work, because on one point I love the fact that I am able to help people, but also I learned so much. When I trained to become a shaman, and you're never done training, but like the first years were really intensive, we had all these cases, and you learn about how the mind and the soul and how traumas can affect actually the body. And now I can see this firsthand, and I see my mind going over all these things and connecting them together, and that's so wonderful, because mostly everything clicks, mostly everything just connects to each other the way I learned it. But that also gives the most frustration, because I'm not allowed to help them in the ways that I know how to. And I try that, but I'm not allowed to give them herbs, I'm not allowed to do a cleansing or those things. So I mostly give advice, and sometimes when I see that people are in pain, I can put my hands on them and give them energy, and I actually every time the people feel better, so that's so wonderful. But it's also a bit frustrating, because I see that they get so much medicine, and I see that's also not necessary. And that's really something that I discovered during my training, is that finding connections is actually my specialty. I love finding connections between the things and seeing how everything works together, how everything is connected. We learn as a human being that everything is a single event happening on its own, but actually everything is connected to each other. And I always say that we are not sick, but we have symptoms, and maybe that's a little bit hard to understand. But the way I compare it is to a car. When you have a car and you have a light going on your dashboard, then you can do two things. Either you can ignore the light as long as possible until the car actually breaks down, which is what we do if we ignore the symptoms, and eventually our body just gives up, it breaks down. Or we can actually go to the mechanic, and then the mechanic can do two things. The mechanic can actually just take out the light and says it's fixed, and that's what most of the medication, the regular medication, does. I'm not saying that every medication does that, but most of the medication just takes out the light and says the problem is fixed. But what the mechanic also can do is actually look for the cause and repair that, and then the light also goes out. And that's what I compare natural medicine to, is that we actually look at the cause, because the cause is mostly so much bigger than just one thing. It is the symptoms that we get is from an unbalance in our life. It's not only the unbalance in our body, but also in our mind, in our soul, in the way we think, the way we act, the way we do. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I moved to Sweden, is because I was not feeling at home in the Netherlands. I was missing this essential part of my life, which is nature and will always be nature. As a child I loved nature, and if I felt overwhelmed or overstimulated, I always found a patch of greens, of trees, of bushes to regain my energy, and I still needed that. And especially when I started working with energies and herbs, I started to miss this really raw nature. And that's why I moved here to Sweden. And I think that's why many people also feel the need to move to the nature more. And especially in these challenging times, people are realizing that there is so much more, and that actually the things that we need the most are the most simple. Because nature is just, for me, it gives everything. love making things from reused materials. I feel if we all would remake things from the things that we already have, then also the environment will be doing a whole lot better. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I'm sending you much love from Sweden. If you wanted to be updated about my life, I have an Instagram account where I post a little bit more than here on YouTube. I have a Patreon account where I put also behind the scenes. And I have actually also a blog post. All the links are in the description box down below. Even the link to the cabin that's coming out for rent. Much love. Bye.